Today's story doesn't involve any paranormal activity. There's no conspiracy theory, no spirits, no ghosts, nothing supernatural. But the story I'm about to tell you will absolutely blow your mind. Because when I first heard it, my immediate thought was, I have to share this with people. So trust me for a few minutes and listen to this story all the way through. This story begins in 2004. Mitch was a college student finishing his senior year at a university in Louisiana. He was the kind of guy who seemed to have everything going for him. He was smart, athletic, well-liked, the perfect student. During his senior year, there was also a girl named Kayla. Slowly, Mitch started falling for her. What began as simple attraction eventually turned into love. And honestly, Mitch became completely obsessed with her. He wanted to date her so badly that he constantly tried to impress her in different ways, always trying to show her how far he'd go for her. But time after time, Kayla rejected him. Or maybe she was just playing hard to get. Eventually, after seeing all the effort Mitch was putting in, Kayla agreed to go on a date with him. One date turned into many, and over time they became deeply serious about each other. So serious that after graduating from college, they got married. By 2006, just 2 years after graduation, they bought their dream house, a perfect white picket fence home. In American culture, that kind of house represents the American dream. And for Mitch and Kayla, it truly felt perfect. They could already picture their future there. They imagined raising kids in that house, growing old together, building a peaceful life in a quiet neighborhood. Then in 2007, their first child was born, a daughter. 2 years later, in 2009, they had a son. Mitch loved both of his children more than anything, but his son was his entire world. Mitch adored him. In his mind, all the happiness in his life came from his family. At that point, his life felt absolutely perfect. A beautiful wife, 2 wonderful kids, a dream home. Everything seemed straight out of a movie. Their daily routine was peaceful and balanced. Mitch would wake up early, get ready for work, and before leaving the house, he'd quietly check on his sleeping children. On weekends, the whole family spent time together playing games and enjoying each other's company. He made time for Kayla too. Everything in that home felt balanced. Looking at his life from the outside, it genuinely seemed like things couldn't possibly get any better. But then one day arrived that changed everything. Around 2009, there was a day when Kayla had taken the kids out, leaving Mitch alone at home. He was sitting on the couch watching football on TV. Nothing unusual, just a normal afternoon. In the same room where Mitch was sitting, there was a red lamp. It was a simple lamp with a somewhat square shape and gold lining around the edges. It gave off this warm red glow, but there was something strangely unsettling about it. While watching TV, Mitch suddenly noticed the lamp, and for some reason he couldn't stop staring at it. It wasn't that he'd never seen it before. The lamp had always been there, but today it felt different. Every time he looked at it, something seemed wrong. The entire room around him looked perfectly normal and crystal clear, except for the lamp. The lamp itself looked blurry, completely out of focus. Mitch rubbed his eyes, thinking maybe something had gotten into them. But no matter what he did, the lamp stayed blurry while everything else in the room looked perfectly fine. He got up from the couch and walked closer to it. But the closer he got, the more uneasy he felt. It didn't matter how near or far he stood from the lamp. It remained blurry. He even touched it, and the moment he did, a terrible feeling washed over him. Something wasn't right. Trying to act rational, Mitch convinced himself it was all in his head. He went back to the couch and tried focusing on the football game again. But he couldn't. No matter how hard he tried, his attention kept drifting back to the lamp. He'd watch the TV for a few seconds, then suddenly find himself staring at the lamp again. Then, after the football game ended, Mitch noticed something horrifying. The lamp had started moving. Not dramatically, just slightly. A little left, a little right, slowly swaying on its own. Mitch stared at it in disbelief because nobody else was in the room. Then suddenly, right in front of him, the lamp flipped upside down by itself. Mitch froze. The lamp was now upside down, and even blurrier than before. His heart started racing. How was this possible? There was nobody near it. Why was it moving? Why couldn't he focus his eyes on it? And the more he stared at it, the more it felt like the lamp was somehow controlling his emotions. It felt like the lamp was pulling him in, manipulating him mentally. Eventually, Mitch couldn't even look away from it anymore. Hours passed. Day turned into evening. Mitch sat there staring at the lamp nonstop. Eventually, Kayla returned home with the kids. The sound of the front door opening suddenly snapped Mitch out of whatever trance he had been in. It felt as though he had been released from some kind of possession. He immediately began questioning what he had just experienced. He thought about telling Kayla everything, but then decided not to. Instead, he pretended nothing had happened and joined his family. Interestingly, when Kayla entered the room, the lamp looked completely normal to her. It wasn't upside down. Nothing seemed strange. But for Mitch, nothing felt normal anymore. That night, Kayla and the kids went to bed, but Mitch couldn't sleep. The lamp was still stuck in his mind. Eventually, he felt this strange urge pulling him downstairs toward the living room. It almost felt like the lamp was calling him. He went downstairs and sat in complete darkness. No lights were on anywhere in the house, yet somehow he could still see the lamp glowing clearly in the pitch-black room. It was still upside down, still blurry. Mitch sat there staring at it all night long until morning came. His eyes were bloodshot, his body exhausted, but he never looked away. The next morning, Kayla found him sitting on the couch. Concerned, she asked what was wrong. Mitch almost told her the truth, but once again lied and claimed he wasn't feeling well. Kayla knew something was deeply wrong. Mitch never missed work, yet now he was acting completely different. Later that day, Kayla took the kids and left the house again. And once she was gone, Mitch immediately returned to staring at the lamp. Hours passed, then more hours. Mitch barely moved. It was like he had become completely hypnotized by it. When Kayla returned home later that evening, she found the house completely dark again. Mitch was sitting in the same position, staring at the lamp. By now, she realized something was seriously wrong. She tried shaking him, yelling at him, throwing water on him, anything to snap him out of it. But this time Mitch didn't respond at all. 3 days passed. For 3 entire days, Mitch sat there staring at the lamp without eating or drinking. Terrified, Kayla called a doctor. The doctor tried talking to Mitch, but although Mitch could hear the voices around him, they all blended into unbearable noise inside his head. The voices became louder and louder until he felt like the entire world was screaming at him. Then suddenly silence. Complete silence. Everyone disappeared. The doctor, Kayla, everything. All that remained was the red lamp. And now the lamp began growing. It grew larger than the furniture, larger than the room itself, larger and larger until it completely consumed Mitch. Suddenly all he could see was blinding red light accompanied by terrifying screams and noise. Then came unimaginable pain, especially in his head. And then, Mitch opened his eyes. The lamp was gone. Instead, he found himself surrounded by a crowd of strangers standing over him on a sidewalk. His mouth hurt. Some of his teeth were missing. Panicking, he immediately began screaming for Kayla and his children. A police officer pushed through the crowd and loaded Mitch into an ambulance. Confused and barely conscious, Mitch kept asking where his wife and kids were. The officer looked at him strangely and explained that Mitch had suffered a severe head injury during a football game. Another student had shoved him during an argument, causing Mitch to hit his head on the sidewalk. And then the horrifying realization hit him. He wasn't married. He never had children. He was still just a college student. Everything, his wife, his kids, his home, the past 10 years of memories, had never existed. Mitch had only been unconscious for about 10 seconds. But inside those 10 seconds, his brain had created an entire alternate reality spanning over a decade. A full life, family, memories, love, happiness. None of it was real. Years later, after recovering, Mitch shared the story on Reddit in response to someone asking, "Have you ever felt deeply connected to someone you met in a dream?" The truth devastated him. Imagine waking up one day and realizing the people you loved most never actually existed. The family you would have died for was never real. Mitch said he spent years in depression because, in his mind, he had truly lost his wife and children. Even after recovering, Mitch admitted that sometimes when he sees something slightly blurry out of the corner of his eye, his heart stops for a second, because he's terrified someone will suddenly wake him up again and tell him that none of this is real either. Sometimes he even claims he catches brief glimpses of his son in random places. And honestly, I think this story perfectly proves something terrifying. Not every horrifying story needs ghosts, demons, conspiracies, or monsters. Sometimes your own mind is enough.